Hi, my name is Natasha and today we're going to be talking about fibroids and how you can treat them naturally. I'm trained as a herbalist and that means that I can talk to you about how you can use your diet, lifestyle as well as herbs to treat things like fibroids. So around 20 to 25% of women over 35 will at some point have a fibroid. So they're relatively common really after a certain age. And we don't really know why they happen. And for a lot of women, they can have them and not even know about them because they don't cause symptoms. And what they are is sort of like, if you imagine a ball of elastic bands, they're balls of muscles that are overlapping each other in a similar kind of way. And they can be quite hard. I have had patients with them where I can feel them and they're quite, they're a solid lump in the body. They can be, this kind of size as well, but they can also be very small and go totally unnoticed. But for most women, the reason why they would come to get them diagnosed is because they're causing a problem. And usually they would cause things like really heavy bleeding during the periods, and they might, depending on where they are in the body, cause effects on other organs. So if they're rather large and pressing on the bowel, you might find that it's hard for you to go regularly and you get constipated. Or you might find that it pushes on the bladder and it makes it harder to be able to hold in pee, so you end up peeing all the time. Depending on where they are, sometimes they're inside the womb and they have an impact on the endometrial lining of the womb, which can interfere with fertility as well, and therefore sometimes women come to realise they have a fibroid because they're struggling to conceive. So depending on the situation, the treatment options that you get may or may not suit your requirements. The treatment of it is usually just to have it removed surgically. But for women who get it later on in life, because there seems to be a connection between fibroids and estrogen, the estrogen seems to feed them almost. They grow whilst there is estrogen around. Often a lot of women, their fibroids stop growing or reduce in size after menopause. So if you're not trying to get pregnant and you're due to go through the menopause fairly soon and it's not causing major problems, then you might just want to wait it out. It really depends on so many different things, like where you are in your life, what your plans are in terms of having a child, not having a child, and what kind of impact it's having on your life as it is. The other thing that women sometimes notice is they have this feeling of a heaviness in their abdomen, presumably because of the size of it can be kind of heavy. I do wonder what size fibroids that sensation is experienced with. The way that they'd be diagnosed is that you would go to your GP, explain your problems, and they would send you for an ultrasound. Ultrasounds can be totally non-invasive. They're usually done through the abdomen, and they'll tell you how many fibroids you have, because sometimes women have more than one at a time, where they are and what size they are. Depending on where they are in relationship to the womb, they get called slightly different things, and I've written explanations of that in the guide, which is linked to in the video, next to the video somewhere. So you can get more details about that, so that if you have been diagnosed with a fibroid, you can understand a bit better what these different terms mean. So what can you do? Well, there's quite a lot of things that you can do in the home without having to go out and see anybody or get special equipment, and it's just through natural eating. So if you're having trouble with your bowels and going regularly, a good thing to do is to make sure you're having plenty of fibre. It just helps you to go regularly, and fibre sources are found with fruit and vegetables. So pretty simple. Because there seems to be a link between fibroids and estrogen, it's a good idea to try and minimise the estrogen that you're getting from your environment and from your foods. And in a previous video, I've talked about how the cosmetics that we usually use can contain substances or chemicals that interfere with our endocrine system and behave as though they're estrogen. But it's not just in our cosmetics, it's also in our cleaners. It's also in the packaging of our food, especially plastic packaging. You want to try and avoid that. And the worst culprit for that has got to be ready meals, which are in plastic packaging and you're heating it up in the plastic. It's not good. The other thing with your foods is to try and avoid meats that aren't organic. Always go for the organic meats. They use a lot of growth hormones and things to create meat and other products from animals like dairy and eggs as well. So always go for the organic options. If you want to look into natural cleaners, I'd highly recommend Hannah Bullivant's guide to making your own cleaners. You can go out and buy these eco cleaners, but there's quite a lot of debate around how good they really are. I'm not really that clued up on the debate, but I know that it's really easy to make natural cleaners. All you need is bicarbonate of soda and some vinegar a lot of the time. And Hannah Bullivant's got a great guide to that, so I'll put a little link to that nearby. Actually, if you get the guide, it's got a link to it inside it. Another thing to do is to support your liver. Your liver is dealing with estrogen and it's dealing with a lot of things. Once the body has used something, it uses the liver to excrete it, generally speaking. And estrogen is one of those things. And when the liver is being taxed through other things, like the foods that you're eating, it is struggling to then deal with the hormones that you're producing, so you might end up with what seems like a high level of estrogen, but it's actually just because your liver isn't excreting it fast enough. And things that would tax the liver would be caffeine and alcohol. Common things that we know that we should be avoiding. Easier said than done usually. When it comes to exercise, a recommended routine would be to look into high intensity interval training. That's HIIT for short. You only need to do it for 20 minutes a day, which makes it super easy. And I actually use an app on my phone to do it called 8Fit. Really easy to do. You don't need any equipment. You can do it in the safety of your homes. Don't need to go out into the world and be judged by other gymmies. Those damn gym bodies. And so when you're exercising, you're boosting your immune system, you're boosting your metabolism, and that helps you to burn fat. And the fat that you have is potentially adding to your estrogen problem. So if we even call it an estrogen problem, you might not actually have excessive estrogen levels and have a fibroid. It's just that the estrogen you do have is feeding your fibroid in some way. Balancing blood sugar levels is another good thing to do to complement all of this, because when you have peaks and troughs of blood sugar during the day, it encourages your insulin levels to go all skew-iff as well, and then that has a knock-on effect for the hormones. So quite a lot of things that you can do in terms of diet. It's just a case of finding a way to implement them. I usually find that people have heard these tips 1,000 times before and they just haven't found a way to implement them. That's kind of where one-to-one work comes in, or even doing some of my courses which look at how to reshape your diet and lifestyle a bit. But yeah, the one-to-one stuff is just so valuable. I've done it. I try to implement things myself. I'm fairly good at it, but just sometimes you can't figure out how you could possibly make any more time in your day to buy some organic goods. It's just so difficult sometimes. So let's talk about herbs. There's a lot that can be done in the herbal dispensary for fibroids. Usually people will go straight for the hormone changing things when it comes to these women issues, but often if we support the rest of the body, the hormones figure themselves out. So we were talking earlier about supporting the liver. You can do that with herbs by using a set of herbs called bitters, and they help to upregulate the liver, and they will help the liver to process things faster. Because of that, it's not a good idea to use bitters alongside medication unless you're working with a herbalist, because there is a possibility, a theoretical possibility, that they would make you process your drugs faster and therefore end up with a less effective medicine that you're taking from doctors. So not a good thing to look out for. Just avoid bitters if you're already on medications, really, unless you see a herbalist, of course. You should be trying to cleanse, tone and heal the uterus. This can be done using a very safe herb called lady's mantle. I can't think of any contraindications with lady's mantle. I might even use it during pregnancy with some women, but I would choose that on a case-by-case basis. It's nice because it's astringent, and we were saying earlier that one of the problems is that you can bleed really heavily with fibroid. Lady's mantle will help you to bleed less, so really recommend it. It's a good idea to always have a healthy circulation when you have any kind of health problem, because we need a good supply of oxygenated blood to heal anything. And I like to use hawthorn to do that. Hawthorn is a herb which supports the cardiovascular system throughout, and it can help with high and low blood pressure. And I can't think of any contraindications with it, so it's a really safe herb to have. Another thing to do is to increase your immunity. So with these things, like a fibroid, which I describe as a cylinder of muscles, but usually it's referred to as a non-cancerous tumour, it's a foreign object in the body that the immune system has allowed to prevail, or like allowed to grow. There's a few hormonal problems like endometriosis and cysts where it's a kind of a similar thing, like it's a foreign thing, and why has the immune system allowed it to happen? And usually it's because stress has made the immune system come lower, like be worse at its job, and allowed these things to happen. A herb that is pretty famous is Echinacea for boosting the immune system. It makes you produce more white blood cells, and that should help you to realise that this fibroid is strange and should be broken down. Along the lines of stress is to use a whole group of herbs called relaxants. Probably the most popular and easy to get hold of and safest is chamomile. Pretty happy herb that you can get a hold of in any shop, food shop nowadays. And then if you have long-term stress that's making you increase your cortisol levels, then it's good to use adaptogens. These are herbs that have become really popular recently. They help you to adapt to stress, and one that I really like for this is ashwagandha. You can have it as a milk and spice it up to make like an ashwagandha chai drink. It's delicious, and it also helps you to sleep, so you can have it just before bed. And there's a recipe for that in the fibroid guide, linked to somewhere in this video. So I hope that is helpful and gives you some really practical tips. And I mean, even if you don't actually do anything with this video aside from absorb the information, at least you know that there are options. Like, I think probably one of the main problems with women's health issues is that you go to the GP, you get given a diagnosis, and then you're told there's nothing you can do, or the options that you're given you don't want to do. But there's a lot that you can do naturally, and if you find that it's too hard to get the results that you want without help, you know, that's where I come in. And if you're in the UK, I do free 30-minute chats with people on the phone to see where they're at in their lives and what's an appropriate treatment for them. I've never seen a fibroid totally disappear with herbal medicine. I've only ever seen them stop growing, and I've seen them reduce in size slightly. But being able to manage the side effects, like help with the heavy flow of the blood, or the low energy that might come with that, supplementation with like iron and things, being able to do all of that supportive stuff around a fibroid makes just a world of difference for a lot of women. So thank you for joining me today, and I'll see you soon.